Welcome to this explainer. But, well, tonight I'm going to ask you to completely suspend your comfort. You see, for this dark fable, I'm your host, sure, but I'm also the Shadow Reaper. And you're my unwilling audience in a cosmic theater, and the doors, they've just locked from the outside. So, settle in. We're going to dive deep into a story of cosmic negation, ancient glowing runes, and some truly horrifying revelations.
I want you to really try and feel that freezing mountain fog creeping right into your lungs. We start on a night when the fog up on Mount Crumpet wasn't just cold, it was suffocating. Literally like a physical weight pressing down on this pitch-black, jagged obsidian shard we call the pulpit of the perished stars. The Grimgnash sat there, and right beside him, flickering like a presence colder than the deepest frost, was me, the Shadow Reaper. We were just waiting, watching the sky, anticipating the crimson sun of the great noon that would finally signal the red chapter.
Now, out in that desolate place, I operated on something called the logic of zero. My purpose was absolutely clear, and to be honest, I was proud of it. I harvested the husks of existence, and I made sure the dark, terrible ink of the pool of gore never, ever faded. I am the physical embodiment of that deafening silence. You know the one, the silence right after the final heavy thud of a life ending. We just waited on that jagged obsidian, filled with this cold pride, absolutely certain that our finality was unmatched.
But then, the thick atmosphere suddenly thinned out. A creature descended from the lunar height, and trust me, this was no celestial angel. Think about the Grimgnash for a second. This terrifying head of ash and old bone, his needle-like fur literally crackling with ice. Well, opposed to that, this newcomer was a twisted imp with these gnarled, demonic features. Its skin was etched with glowing lunar runes, pulsing with this sickly silver light that cut right through the freezing mountain fog. And the smell, it brought this heavy, overwhelming scent of witch magic and the rot of old, forgotten woods.
So the imp perches on a jagged rock, its tail twitching like a dying nerve, and it speaks. "You too," it spat. And its voice, wow. It was this discordant chime, a high, sharp sound, almost exactly like shattering glass in a deep void. This jarring auditory assault completely went to war against the deep, rumbling presence of the Grimgnash, whose very being vibrated like shifting shale. It's this insane contrast, right? You've got the rusted footprints and crushing silence of the architects clashing directly against the sickly silver light and total madness of the imp.
The imp actually accused us of just playing at being the finality of things. While the Grimgnash was insulted, as you might guess. He turned his terrible head and rumbled into the icy wind, his voice grinding like heavy stones. "I am the indispensable shadow." He argued that his role as the architect of negation was absolutely paramount. He was the one hollowing out the roast beast until it tastes of nothing, uncreating the masks of the herd so the Red Spectre could hold absolute dominion over the finished, erased story of human vanity. But the imp? The imp's response was just pure, glass-shattering laughter. It completely dismissed the Nash. It said you are merely the spirit of gravity, pulling things down because you cannot bear to see them float. See, the architect actually believed his rusted footprints ensured a triumph of will, the ultimate test of eternal recurrence. But the imp just stripped all that away. It told him that even his destruction was just a story. Even our eternal silence, merely a grand noise to stars that had already perished long, long ago. And as the imp's lunar runes started glowing brighter, it shifted the very foundation of our cosmic power. It left us with a truly terrifying question. Have you ever wondered who wrote the script for the great evening? This right here is the horrifying turning point of the explainer. The architect of negation and I, the Shadow Reaper, we suddenly realized that our absolute power, our finality, it might just be a complete illusion. The imp leaned in closer. The runes on its brow were glowing with this intense, violent light now, and it delivered the horrifying truth. We had spent our eternity clearing the stage of old idols, offering up that terrible laughter that confirms their smashing. But we were just minor players. We actually thought we were the end of all things, the ultimate price of admission. But no, we were merely ushers, assigned this tiny, meaningless role by a higher, unseen madness that we couldn't even begin to comprehend. Then, the imp's form began to blur. Its demonic, gnarled features melted right away into the uncanny, shifting shimmer of the moon itself. It laid out the true cycle for us, the silver madness.
First, it claimed to be the very madness that gave creatures the purpose we so love to peel away like a brightly colored scarf. Second, it's the unyielding dream that easily survives our great fast. And finally, it warned us that the moon just keeps watching, long after the red chapter ends. The finality of the universe we worked so hard to achieve, a complete and utter lie.
I really want the sheer existential horror of this final warning to sink into your bones. Go on, the imp whispered. Harvest the flesh and uncreate the meaning. But remember, when the red chapter is finished and the universe is perfectly finished, the moon will still be watching, and the moon never learned how to sigh. With that haunting promise echoing like a discordant chime, the Silver Imp vanished completely, just faded back into the freezing mountain fog, leaving us totally alone in the dark.
But it didn't leave without a trace. Etched directly into the pitch-black stone of the obsidian pulpit was a single glowing lunar rune. It pulsed with this intense, sickening violet glow that cut right through the freezing fog like an open wound. This was a symbol of hidden truth. It completely shattered our absolute finality, mocking the logic of zero we held so dear. It was literally a scar on the dark fabric of our reality, shining with this eerie, undeniable power. That sickening violet rune, it was the mark of eternal return. And let me tell you, a profound metaphysical chill entered my being as I realized exactly what it meant. It suggested that the Gnash's bitter gift wasn't the end of the line. Not at all. It was merely a recurring nightmare in a grand story that outright refuses to stay dead. Everything we destroyed, it would return. Our precious, deafening silence was just a temporary breath before the noise started all over again.
So, as we conclude this dark explainer, we're left with a final, haunting question. The Grimgnash looked down at his own rusted footprints on the pulpit of the perished stars. For the first time in 10 years of cold, absolute solitude, did the architect of negation finally feel the metaphysical chill he had always promised to others? As you leave us tonight, I want you to ask yourself, what happens when you realize the cosmic theater you are trapped in never truly closes? Sleep well.